I'm Adora Wolfor, and welcome to Living a Creative Life. Please allow me to introduce you to 3 Calgarians who make themselves and our city a better place by sharing their authentic lives. Today we reclaim true passion, write from the heart, and rap good medicine. By following her heart and using art, Shannon Carla King reclaims eco-consciousness in our city.
This evening, we're at the Calgary Petroleum Club. The event this evening is called The Art of Reclamation. It is an art show with a panel discussion, and we've got some various experts in to really have a conversation about how can we communicate reclamation success better. You know, how do we reach the public with these success stories? Reclamation is part of the regulatory requirement of returning the land back to as close as possible the natural state after resource extraction. And I'm not a technical expert, I'll verify that right now. I'm here as an artist this evening, and what I'm doing is I'm taking information from the industry, recreating paintings that represent that specific reclaimed site to bring it to a different audience. And I believe if we don't focus on the good news stories, we're never going to make monumental shifts in how we reclaim land. I grew up on a farm. I'm a farm kid, and I have been painting since I was about 13. I've been in the oil and gas industry for 30 years now, and just short of a year ago, I decided to exit the industry and paint full time. I realized I'm a sum of all of my experiences, and you can take all of that, you look at what makes you authentically you, and that's where I decided that I should be. This is my first solo show. There's 17 pieces here this evening. We're doing a giant experiment to see if we can exhibit art in a more interactive way. All of the paintings have QR codes on them that you can scan, which will take you to the company's published material on the painting. Some of them have VR goggles where you can take a 360-degree view of the reclamation activity, which makes the art more interactive than your average painting. Because I grew up on a farm, I try not to paint something that I'm unfamiliar with, and I love it when I finish a painting and you can smell the muskeg and you know what that crunch sounds like when you're stepping on the frozen ground covered in snow. And so each one of these are pretty close to my heart in terms of something that I'm familiar with. When you have a side gig and you're curious enough about it, I believe that if you follow your heart and you keep doing the thing that gets you up in the morning and makes you smile, it's inevitable that that road starts to open up and you start to meet more and more people who will support you. I would say to anybody else who's thinking about it, you have to take a certain amount of risk to have that exponential reward. And yes, it was scary. Of course it was. But you have to trust yourself. Trust yourself that you're going to put the same amount of energy into this new business. And it is a business. And if you want it to be successful, it will be. It's the best life. I highly recommend it. If you know that you're an artist and you're in the wrong place, just start talking to people. Tell them what you want to do. The world does conspire to help you out.
Experienced author Sharon Butala shows you don't have to go home again to value the beauty in your story. I am so honored to sit down and talk with Sharon Butala, who has written 22 books. I don't know the last time I had time to read 22 books. And so writing them, huge success.
Well, I didn't do much else for the last 40 years but write books.
This book that you have being released very shortly, what led you up to writing this book?
My husband was, he'd never been anything but a rural man. He was just so vastly knowledgeable about the land, the animals. There was just nothing he didn't know, it seemed to me. I was so fascinated by coming from the academic world into this rural agricultural world, and I just couldn't understand how people could miss the beauty. I started to write about that world because my husband loved what he did and loved the Great Plains, the grasslands, and I learned my love of it from him. And I just thought, this is a story worth telling, and I wanted to document it. I, bit by bit over the years, became more successful as a writer, got invited to all the festivals around the country, and I was not an A-list writer, ever. I thought I would be soon when catastrophe struck. My husband developed esophageal cancer, and he died. And there I was, left on my own, losing my way of life, the place where I lived, the community. I lost everything. The trauma was so great that it was 7 years before I published another book. And then I was completely forgotten, you know, going from winning prizes and all the rest of it. I had to build a career all over again, you know, which still makes me mad.
You know, they're pushing against you. They're saying that you're not it. And you've decided 7 years later, no, I still got it. What made you decide that, yeah, I'm not going to stop?
I couldn't. I was so invested in being a writer. I was a writer. I wasn't anything else. And I just thought, I haven't got that many years left, realistically. And so I focused mostly on writing. One of the things that happens to you when you reach the officially old age is that you begin to go back over your life. My character goes through that. And so this is really a novel about trying to come to terms with your life so that you can find a place to feel some peace at last. If I hadn't married Peter, I would not have been a writer. So I am endlessly grateful to him, not just for introducing me to this wonderful universe, but for supporting me.
Sharon, you're leaving a legacy.
I hope so.
Oh, you already did it. You already did it. I'm not going to let you do imposter syndrome anymore.
Okay, I'm a star.
You are a star. I love it. I love it. Rapper, DJ, and B-girl, Auntie Sarah's beat drop gives good medicine. Sarah?
Happy to be here.
Auntie Sarah! I heard you in music. I've heard you spin DJ Good Medicine.
Hey.
Tell me, how did you get into becoming a performer, a rapper? Let's start with that.
When I first started rapping and I was thinking about a rap name, you know, there's some teachings around, you know, your words can be medicine. In native cultures, when we're speaking in English, we'll refer to good medicine a lot, things that can help us. My slogan was, I go by MC Good Medicine because I believe words can be good medicine.
Ooh. So we have a rapper with a cause.
Yeah. I just feel like I've always had things to say. I think we all have gifts, and I think more accurately or culturally we would say we all have medicine. So for me, I think a big part of my medicine has been my words, my ability to speak and say things. And I, you know, think about hip hop as a culture, like it comes from a people. It's not just like an art genre or something, you know what I mean? And so for me, being a native person, when I say hip hop's a culture that comes from a people, To me, you know, culture is something that solves problems. Our culture comes from the land, and so culture solves problems, it helps people. And so, you know, I feel like in a way, I'm just sort of getting to be myself, to express myself.
You said you're Auntie Sarah.
Yeah.
So Auntie Sarah, community builder extraordinaire. Tell us some more about that.
Yeah, like even though I'm doing something that's art, or I'm doing something that's facilitating, I do feel like an auntie. And like I have a Two-Spirit group that I do for young people, aunties and uncles who are Two-Spirit, you know, usually people that I know can come to too, and you know, because we want to have a space where we can practice our kinship. It's not just like our nuclear family sort of thing. For art, sort of in general, but specifically for Native and for hip hop, it's really hard to have space, just plain like space, like where we can be loud and we can have fun and we don't have to worry about upsetting anybody. Because as Native people, like this society was built to exclude us. And so space is the issue. We don't have a hip hop radio station. There's very few Indigenous owned and led organizations. And so sometimes when I say I want to do an Indigenous led hip hop radio station, doesn't mean I'm just spinning or we're just having Indigenous hip hop. It's a hip hop radio station, but we're upsetting the structural landscape by having an Indigenous owned and led organization that also happens to just do hip hop. I'd like to have a physical building to do hip hop in, but also to support Native and art, or community space for community building. You know, in our languages, we don't have a word for art. I heard somebody say that's because everything we do is art. You could have fun getting better at things. And if you're doing that, I feel like that's probably the best long-term strategy.
Thank you, Sharon, Shannon, and Sarah, for sharing your stories and embodying the creative spirit. See you next time on Living a Creative Life.